Greetings, Benjamin J. from BENZTRAINZ with another in the series. Well, I'm shooting this with my iPhone. I want to do a follow-up video on that Canadian Pacific that just showed up today. And here it is. I've touched up the paint, lubed, tuned it, and it actually looks quite acceptable. And as you notice, both of the markers are gone, and the holes are gone as well. And for the time being, to cover those holes, I've just got a small piece of tape over the holes and then colored them black and then oiled the paint after I touched it up. And as you can see, this is actually quite acceptable looking. $6.98, I was the only bidder. And this thing was just an absolute junk pile when it arrived. And it's been neglected for years and years and years. This is an original pre-war Canadian Pacific. So this engine is close to 80 years old. And it had just been abused for decades. So in any case, the only real major repair I had to do was changing this wheel. Now, this wheel has intergranular degeneration, wheel rot, and the pot metal is just literally turning to powder. And evidently there was gear damaged, and so they pulled the wheel off, whoever did this, and then ground the gears completely off of the wheel. So the locomotive was only being powered by one wheel. It worked. I guess it got it running. In any case, I pulled the wheel off. I replaced the wheels. Mismatching right now. I got to go through my parts and find the spoked wheel. I've got one somewhere. And I touched up the paint, lubed it, tuned it, and this locomotive is running just absolutely splendidly. And I've oiled the paint, touched the paint up. By tomorrow, the oil will have penetrated this. I'm very likely going to repaint this one. I saw a Canadian Pacific on eBay that had been repainted black. It was actually quite striking, and they had even painted the sideboards black. And it actually looks quite good, so maybe I will do that. We will see. So for the time being, I've removed the actually the remaining side marker. One of them was missing. And I've plugged the holes, basically just covered them with tape, and then colored them black, and when I oiled the paint, they virtually just disappear. So you can't really tell this ever had any markers on it. And it's running absolutely splendidly. So it's been lubed and tuned. I've cleaned the brushes, the armature, oiled the axles, the armature bearings themselves, the output bearing, and this little locomotive is just humming. It is running really, really well. So that's 40% power. And it's running just splendidly. So $6.98, and I was the only bidder. And the only major repair I did was replacing that wheel. If you have a wheel puller and a supply of parts, it only takes a minute, literally. You can get that wheel pulled off there in about 15 seconds. Find a replacement wheel, press it back onto the axle, and that was repaired. Everything else was simply lubing, tuning, and cleaning. This thing had been sitting for decades, and it was just an absolute wreck. But that's what's fun about this, is taking these old junker engines that I find on eBay, and then in a matter of minutes, literally a matter of minutes, having them up and running, clean them up, lube them up, tune them up, and it gives you a really, really nice original 70-plus-year-old Marx locomotive for $6.98. It's really difficult to beat that combination. So not only did I get it cheap, I also had the fun of bringing it back to life. So that's the interesting and fun part about this hobby, I think. You know, I buy the stuff that nobody else wants. I was the only bidder on this, and it came with a 556 caboose. And I was still the only bidder on it. $6.98. And less than an hour of my time. And this old locomotive is up and running. E-unit works perfectly. It runs well. Pulling 12 cars right now. I am going to add a traction tire to it. But as you can see, it was definitely worth $6.98. The parts in it alone are worth more than that. So always fun to get a new locomotive, especially when you can get them cheap. And in this case, this thing was just absolutely trash. It was an absolute wreck. And so I have the fun and the satisfaction of bringing it back to life. So just want to do a quick follow-up video on this. I stress it again. Don't overlook the junk. I was the only bidder on this. Came with a 556 caboose, and in less than an hour, it's up and running. It looks acceptable, more than acceptable. I don't think anybody would object to owning this locomotive. It looks nice. It runs really, really well. Pre-war, so it's 70 plus years old, and it was $6.98 with a 556 caboose. Really difficult to beat that combination. Anyway, just wanted to do a follow-up video. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop me an email, BENZTRAINZ@gmail.com. And as always, thank you for watching.